Hi, welcome to Raha Academy. It's quite some time that we have added a video to our channel. We wanted to add HTML video on HTML and its usage, but the problem was there were already too many references in the internet. So we didn't want to add another tutorial for it. Instead, what we have done is we have divided this video into three sections. We'll talk about HTML structure in the first section, and then we'll talk about few elements and how we can add various components to that HTML elements. And parallelly, we'll show how exactly it will look in actual web page. And then I'll be giving you the resources from where you can refer rest of the elements and other components of HTML, tags, etc. By doing this, you will be able to create your own web pages and add a lot of dynamics to it, and you'll be free to explore more options from the internet. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It was created by Berners-Lee in 1989. By 1999, it was widely used in almost all the web pages. In 2010, we had HTML 5.0 with a lot of dynamic elements and other capabilities. HTML has basic structure with HTML as the main tag. Within that, you have head and body tag. Head tag itself has styling and scripting portion. You can add title and include third-party files or JavaScript. Body is where you see the actual content, and this is where we have the portion of the web page which is visible to us. For this one, either you create a .html file and follow this, copy this template and start modifying on top of it, or we can go to Raha tutorials first coding task. In that one, the second part, and download the resource file. It will give you a sample template of the .html, and you can start editing it. So in order to go to download .html file, then search for Raha Academy. Select the topmost one, Raha Academy. And then traverse to first coding task tutorial, part 2. Click on it. Drag down and click on show more and download this sample code. Either you can copy this template in your HTML file or click here to download that file. And let's mark it as basic HTML and open it. So you got this. I'll open it in Notepad. So one important thing what I want to tell you is earlier we used just Notepad, which comes by default with any computer. We'll open this in Notepad++ instead of Notepad which we used in our first video. Notepad++ has its own benefit of editing the text and selecting and doing the repetitive task. Similarly, you have Sublime Text also. You can use that editing tool. This is also very good mechanism to speed up your programming skills in HTML. We'll go with Notepad++ for now, and we'll see Sublime Text in subsequent videos. So as I said, we'll be having the basic HTML structure. So I'll delete this whole thing and just keep the basic part. So we have head, body, and body tag. So this is what you require for your HTML syntax. Once you have this, you can start adding the content. HTML element has specific structure. It starts with less than sign and the element tag name. Then it has optional parameters like attributes and events. And then closing bracket, that is nothing but greater than sign. So this starting, so any element which in HTML is encapsulated between less than sign and greater than sign. So the first part is the starting tag, followed by the HTML or the content which you want to write for that particular element. And then there is an end tag. This whole section forms a basic HTML structure. Now there are many element tags which you will be seeing in the next slides. Then we'll go and talk about the optional elements like attributes and events. HTML basic elements are like you have hyperlink. So clicking on this one, it takes you to a different page. So here we'll add this is hyperlink. Okay, now it has attributes, different attributes. HTML anchor tag has specific attribute called hrefs, which takes parameter of which takes the value of the link where you want to traverse to when you click on this text here. So let's say you want to go to yahoo.com and now you can see the hyperlink. If you click on this one, it will take you to yahoo.com. So there are multiple attributes to this. Every element has some set of basic attributes, and then some attributes which are specific to that tag. Like for the anchor tag, we have this hrefs. This is not used in all the other elements. It's used specifically for anchor tag, that's hyperlink tag. But there are some other attributes which are common to all the tags, like class, and we have style, like this. These are the attributes which are common to all the other things. Then you have the events which we can add. So for now we'll just talk about the tags, various tags, and then we'll come to the global attributes of HTML tags. Next element is the div element. Div element adds a section to the page. So when we say section, it's a different entity altogether which can be addressed. So all the elements can be addressed by an ID, but div specifically forms a structural block within which you can add further items. It's more like container. You can have encapsulated div elements to make further blocks within these containers, and that's how we use it. So adding to the div element, we can do the same thing. This is div element. Now let's see what our page shows. This is div element. Now another important part what I would like to say is all the elements, whatever HTML elements are there, they start in the new line. They're called block elements. So whenever we add this element, and by default it's shown on the next line, and then there is a property or the elements which are called inline elements. These elements start in the line itself, so it doesn't add a new breakpoint or a new line. For example, hyperlink comes wherever you add. For example, if you want to add another hyperlink here, you copy paste this anchor tag and put inside this div element again. It will not add a new line here. It will continue in the same line. So this is called inline element. Okay. Yeah. So this is div element 1, we'll say, and I'll show the example of another div element, but it will come in second line because these are block elements. You'll get to know about all these things in detail when I'll show you the reference from where you can get detailed explanation of each of these tags. The link in the bottom gives you the detailed information of all the tags. Then the form element is there. Let's go to the form element. Form element is basically used when you want to capture user input. So form has a name of the form will be this form or something, whichever you want to give. Then again, this name is a attribute, okay? And then it has action part, which says to which website or to which link it should be traversed to. It has action part which indicates to which link it has to traverse to. Say for example, again we say yahoo.com, and then we have to say method is equal to post. So all these things, method is equal to post, action and action, these things are specific attribute for the form element. Form by default has much more elements within that, like you have input tag. Input tag doesn't have a end part to it. Okay, so for example, input, we say name is equal to my name. You can see this section coming in. Similarly, we can add further elements, my mobile number. These things are in line again. So in order to give a break, what we can do is you can add a specific element called BR. BR indicates line break. Now since it's not showing any content within it, we can add a label to it. Label again, but label is a needs to have a closing tag. Name of the element. Similarly, we'll add mobile number here. Label. So that's how. Yeah, you must be wondering that why is this not so aligned and it looks ugly. So this is where style and other attributes comes into picture. We'll cover that in the next part. So form is done, then image element. Image element is again something which doesn't require a closing tag, and it has a special attribute called src, and within which you can specify address of image address. So how to get it? Let's take some example. Either you can keep something which is there in your home directory, that is from where the page has loaded. So in our example we have brick.jpg. So we'll copy this, we'll use the same thing. So for that we can say brick.jpg. You can see the sample code. It looks very big. So we can add a styling portion and reduce it. But for now, let's continue adding other part. We'll add another image, but this time instead of taking it from the local directory, we'll take it from the internet. For that, again, go to say google.com and search for a sample image. Okay, so these are the sample images. Now you take that, you can open it in the new tab like this, and then take this address on the top and paste it here. Close the tag, come back, and then again see. Yeah, next part is paragraph tag. Paragraph tag, I think we have already seen. This paragraph tag. So this gives the same impression as if it's a paragraph. But we can simulate the same thing with div element also. But usually paragraph is used for text part, mainly. Div, whereas is used mainly where you have a lot of um, interactions with that element. You want to change the portion of it, color of it, and all those things. Paragraph is like you have the text element which is already been decided and you want to showcase that, you want to display that. Next element is table. Table is more like organized placement of rows and columns. Let's write that. Table by itself has a lot of sub-elements like tr and td, so we'll cover these two also in this. So tr is the table row, and within that you have individual table elements. This is table description. You can add multiple descriptions, table descriptions. So if there are three elements, yeah, this is table description, this is table description, this is table description, 3 places it has shown. Now, but now you cannot see the gap and all those things because table's property is not mentioned, talking about the border of each cell. So we can add that as part of class. It's not taking. Okay, I have not added style. Okay, so table by itself has this, then we can specify td. So table cells also will take the border, and it will be shown. So that is table element. Now let's add a heading to it. Table heading. Now here this has a specific attribute called column span. And let's say this is table. Okay, if I not specify the column span, or I specify something less, it will center to the first description, first column of the table. So in order to align it in the center for all the column, it's more like th is more like merging all these cells in the first row. So we say column span is equal to 3. By saying that, what happens is it merges all the columns of the row into a single row and places this content in the center. So this is TRTD is done, then unordered list. Another important part is unordered listing of the elements. Like unordered list, if you add, you can list the element unordered list element 1. Okay, you copy this list elements again and again, you will see that it shows in the order. If you do not specify that, it will go one after the other. Anything you add, it goes to the end. Anything you add is aligned properly to the left of it. We have ordered list also. If you change this to ordered list, it will number it 1, 2, 3, 4. There are multiple attributes to this ordered list which will change the numbering of these elements. It can be in your native. This covers our basic HTML part. Now if you see this bottom section, W3 school tags default.asp, we'll go to that page and I'll show you how it is, how you can search for more tag. W3 schools default tags. So it's having a very big, very exhaustive collection of tags. Let's take any one tag and then we'll try to modify the content within it. So as we said, body is also one of the tags. We'll click that. It will take you to the page which is specifically talking about the body tag. It starts with an example, the way we had it. You can copy this, and further you can scroll down to see what is the meaning and how it is used, and few examples. Say for this example, you can try it yourself. Click on that. It will show various patterns here. The background image was given as something which they had taken it as a template. We'll delete this and then run again. That will go off. We can modify background color to green and say, let's see how it shows. It will show. You can see immediately the changes which you are doing here. So this is very good website. You will get a lot of information on HTML, and you can learn a lot of things in much more structured way. Let's go to the next slide now. We'll go to the HTML element attributes here. Every element has some common attributes like class, ID, hidden, style, tab index, and access key, and there are many others which are mentioned in this link. Class specifically, as we talked earlier, is something to style the elements part or all the elements with one common class, like common class, and we'll say border is equal to 1px solid red, and we'll add this one to all the tag elements. Class is equal to common class. We'll add it to reference also. We'll add it to div element also. Form also will add it, and every other place. Say for example table also. Now let's see how our web page behaves. I see all elements are colored with this new color which is mentioned in the class. Instead of that, let's give dashed instead of solid, dashed red. You can see the dashed red part of all the elements, whichever element where we have given this class. ID. ID is specifically used to address that element. Now, why is that used? What is the benefit of it? Is, as I said, div element. When I was explaining about the paragraph and the difference of it from div element, paragraph is wherein you have a text element which is like you won't be modifying it, and it is something to be displayed. Mainly used in say blogs, etc. But div element is more like a container where you have content which can dynamically get modified. So if in order to do that, you need to be able to address the particular div element with some identifier, and that facility is provided by attribute called ID. So this ID, unique identifier, is something which should not be clashing with any other element in that HTML document, and it helps you to identify that particular. So we'll be giving an ID here, ID element div element 1, and it has to be unique, div element 2. So you won't see any difference here because this is basically used to address this div element. We'll see this one in the later part when we are talking about the events. Okay. Now hidden is another attribute. You can specify the value as true or false to hide that element. We'll again cover this when we are talking about the triggers. Style part is specifically you want to modify that particular element. It's more like you want to override inline in that particular tag the coloring and other aesthetic part of that element. For example, this div element we have given common class, and almost all the elements we have given the same class. But this div element 2 is something which we want to give a different color, like background color as purple or yellow. Okay, now if you see the change here, so it has overwritten the values which class had assigned to it and added what is mentioned in the style statement for that element. This way you can modify or override whatever is assigned already to that element. So this is the last styling part which happens on that element. Okay, fine. Tab index, yeah. Tab index is something when you want to control the element with the tabs. Say you see that tab element 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2 is something which is selected one after the other. But say 1, 2 and tab index 3 you want to put it somewhere in table description 3. Let's add this way and see how it behaves. Tab, tab. We'll start from this place 1, 2, and this is table description. It has gone to the third one. So if you do not specify the tab index, what system does is by default it assigns the tabs, and from there it takes the control. For example, if you remove this tab index here and add to the anchor tag, which is in the topmost part of it, then from this it will come to add development 2 and then jump to the tab index 2. We'll check it out. So tab, see it came to the first hyperlink, then it will skip this one and move to the second tab. Then again you press the tab, it will go to the table description. So this way you can control the way the focus is moving across different developments or elements in the page. Why it is useful? The reason why tab index is useful is that when you are making applications where you require user to input some values, it's good to have tab index so that user can navigate between the elements. And also there are some application and programs wherein you want to define a proper flow between different elements. Then this tab index gives you option to define that control, which element will come first and then which element will come next. So that is the benefit of tab index. Then we'll talk about access key. This is something like keyboard shortcut which you want to you can. So using keyboard shortcut you can access some particular tab element. Say for example you want to reach to this table description here using keyboard shortcut Alt plus H. So we need to mention as access key is equal to H. Let's see, Alt. Now I'm pressing Alt H and you see this portion is selected. I'll do that again. Alt. I am pressing Alt plus H. Now this is selected. So we have seen almost all basic attribute part. Now global attributes. So this is the link which we had shown, access key which we have explained just now. We have hidden, ID, spell check, style, tab index, title and all those things. So any other things you want to know in detail, click on that. You will be taken to a new page. Details are given with the example. You can try out those and implement in your application. Now let's talk about HTML events. There are many events. We'll talk about few of them and how they are used. Later on we'll go through the glossary, W3 Schools glossary, where you can find rest of the events and you can experiment with each one of them based on your needs in your sample files. This onload, the first one, is this one gets fired when page is loaded. In our example, let's add onload event and give a basic function called test. Let's see how it works. Yeah, the moment we loaded it, it shows the alert part. So the moment page is loaded, we'll get the alert. OnBlur event is usually used in form when we move out of some input element. So in case a user is filling the form and he has filled out one section and is moving into the second portion, then we might need to validate the values what he has entered in the first one. So in such cases, we can use onBlur. There are many other cases. This is just one example which you used. So in our input element, we'll add this event in onBlur is equal to alert. This is blur. Let's see our example. Yeah, we got the alert. This is blurred. Delete. On submit is used when the form is submitted. User fills all the form and then when he clicks the submit, just before it is pushed onto the URL mentioned in the action part, this event is called. So usually the benefit of this event is to do pre-processing before we submit the form to the server side or third-party page or redirect it to some other page. We can validate the content what user has filled and then allow form to be submitted. On click is used basically when you click a mouse event on any element, then this event is raised. In our example, insert table element, we see on click is equal to alert. Table is clicked. Test. So table is clicked. Now coming and clicking on the table portion anywhere, this alert will be triggered. On mouse over is again the same thing. Whenever we take the mouse event to mouse or we hover the mouse over that element, this trigger is this event is triggered. Let's check it out. We'll put it on the image part. For example, image src on mouse over is equal to alert. Mouse over this image. Come here, yeah. Got it? We're moving over the image and we see the alert being fired. So we have covered the basic events of HTML element. The rest of it can be referred through this link given at the bottom of this page. We'll also see now. Go to W3 schools. Come to W3 schools and search for W3 HTML event attributes. It will give you this link. Click on that and it will be taken to this page. You have list of events. You can try out all these events and experiment with them. So we have a lot of events. Basic one I have already explained. So as and when you progress on your programming tasks, you might need additional handles or events, or to make it more dynamic you want to have more control. Then you can come here and search for individual items and check it out. So For now, we have finished HTML basic structure, events, elements, and attributes. Going forward, we'll modify individual elements to make a good looking responsive page. As of now, the page what we have is having just um, basic element and basic structure, but going forward we'll make a good looking web page, and also we'll make it responsive. So far we have not got into the JavaScript portion of it, but the moment we finish one level of responsive HTML class, we'll move on to the JavaScript to make individual elements dynamic and more interactive. Thank you very much. Subscribe, share, and like our videos. Raha Academy. Thank you very much.